Are you thinking multi-generationally about your wealth? If so, I've got 3 strategies that you need to consider. That and more coming up. If you're building up generational wealth that will last beyond your life expectancy, or maybe that's a goal of yours and you're planning, you're early in the stages, but you hope to be there someday, it's time to start thinking multi-generationally and explore different strategies, especially from a tax planning standpoint, to have your wealth stretch beyond just your normal lifespan. Now, this isn't for everyone, okay? You might be listening to this right now thinking, no, I'm just trying to apply the right habits for my own situation, build up for my own financial freedom, and hopefully be able to retire someday with confidence. But know that your mindset can shift from your own lifespan, your own individual goals, to adding this legacy component or multi-generational component just like that, instantly, overnight. These 3 strategies that I'm going to share with you came up in a recent case class serving some new clients that suddenly started needing to think multi-generationally. Why? What happened? They were doing a fantastic job managing their finances by living well below their means. They both made about $70,000 or so a year, lived well below that. They built up an emergency fund. The only debt they had was a mortgage, and they were saving a decent amount into their retirement accounts. Everything was on track. And then all of a sudden, her mom died. 9 months later, her dad died, and she stood to inherit close to $4 million. Didn't know anything about their financial situation, knew they had some land, knew they had some property, and assumed that they had saved up, had no idea she was going to inherit $4 million. And you might say, oh, financially, gosh, we'd all be so lucky. Well, obviously, she's grieving. This is a very difficult time. But financially, they were right on track and working on saving. They weren't even maxing out their own 401ks and so on, but they were on track for their financial goals and all of a sudden had a lot more responsibility on their shoulders. So they reached out to us because they wanted to explore advanced tax planning strategies, wanted to make sure that they were good stewards of these resources. They didn't want to squander them, but they also wanted to think multi-generationally. This is more wealth than they ever thought that they would accumulate, and now they've got the responsibility of handling it well and ensuring that it passes along to the kids and future generations responsibly as well. So the planning work that we're embarking on is multifaceted. We're looking at obviously all 6 areas of their financial life as well as their goals, but a few of the multi-generational planning strategies that we're introducing to them, not as, hey, you've got to do this, but considering, things to consider. And then we'll work through the planning process to see if these make sense, are ideas that you might want to consider as well. Number 1, maxing out Roth IRAs for their kids. If you're thinking multi-generationally, you're going to be looking at the tax code and thinking, well, what are some ways that we can get this wealth growing in a tax-sheltered way, ideally in a tax-free way? And their situation, they've got 3 kids. All of them are young adults. They're early in their career, so they're working. Well, in that scenario, they're not in a situation, they're contributing, each of their kids are contributing a little bit to their 401ks, getting a match, but they don't have extra resources to be able to also fund Roth IRAs. Well, if they use some of their resources to max out the Roth IRAs for their kids every single year, that will allow some of this wealth that's now a part of their family to be growing and positioned to grow tax-free. Their kids are in their early 20s to early 30s. This money then that they're contributing could grow tax-free for 60 to 70 years. Think multi-generationally, that is significant. So opportunity or ideal number 1 to think multi-generationally is to consider maxing out the Roth IRAs for your kids. Second, and along the same lines, pre-fund 529 plans for grandkids. Because you might be thinking, well, that idea of contributing and maxing out the Roth IRAs for my kids makes a lot of sense. Should I do that for my grandkids? Well, there's an extra loophole, an extra strategy way to do that for your grandkids, even while they're still very young and they don't have earned income. Because for your grandkids, if they're too young to be working, you can't contribute to a Roth IRA for them. But there still is a strategy. New right now is the ability to transfer a 529 plan to a Roth IRA, a 529 plan to a Roth IRA. There's lots of red tape with this. There's lots of rules. You've got to have that 529 plan and have it be open for at least 15 years. You can only transfer $35,000 in over that person's lifetime. You can only transfer up to that contribution limit each and every year, and you can't transfer anything that was contributed in the last 5 years. I think that's covered. All of them or most of them work with their certified financial planner, but think about this. They've got a couple of young grandkids, okay, for their kids. If they contributed, $10,000 to $15,000 to their 529 plan, not only would they, mom and dad, get the Indiana state tax credit, or if they live in a different state, if you live in a different state, you'd get some tax benefits from your state by contributing to the 529 plan. Check out those rules, work with your CFP. But in their situation, they'd get that tax credit in Indiana, but then those dollars would be able to grow tax sheltered for their grandchild. And if they're contributing them early on in their life, through compound interest and so on, projections, of course, no one knows what the market's going to do, but about between $10,000 and $15,000 by the time that child is in their early 20s, that likely is going to grow near that $30,000 to $35,000 mark. And at that point, as that child then is out of college and launching their career, they could shift from that 529 plan, shift up to that year's contribution limit from the 529 plan into the Roth for that grandchild each and every year until they hit that $35,000 maximum. Now, this is parlaying two tax shelters, the 529 plan and the Roth IRA, to get more of their wealth growing tax sheltered and tax free for a long period of time, multi-generationally. This would be spanning 3 different generations. You could also say, well, do they want to help fund the college education or even K through 12 education? They could contribute even more to the 529 plans for the grandkids. Any little bit helps because it means dollars are growing where the growth or capital gains, interest, dividends is not landing on the tax return and phasing you out from other tax benefits. And then the final strategy we looked at was exploring leveraging life insurance. Now, life insurance is a tool, and in this instance, it may make sense to use that tool in a different way. How is that? Well, there's several reasons. Life insurance, the cash value is tax sheltered as well, and the death benefit comes out tax-free also. So this could be a mechanism, and we sort of taught an advanced planning strategy to consider out there in the future of using RMDs and future withdrawals and so on from pre-tax accounts to be funding life insurance for a multi-generational tax planning strategy and estate planning strategy as well. So those are just a couple of strategies that you could consider using, working with your CFP to start thinking multi-generationally about your wealth and wealth building. Often, you're going to be looking at tax rules and looking at navigating not only tax rules for your lifetime, but those tax rules apply to multiple generations, passing on to your kids or to your grandkids. Work with your certified financial planner on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.